Okay, so I'm going to give you a really cool concept of what Smithers AI can actually do for your email campaigns. We all have heard about and we all understand that personalization, personalizing the messages that go out to your customer is one of the biggest benefits that you can ever do because it makes people feel like you've done some research on them, that you know them better than they know themselves, or well, you really found something out surprising that they were hoping that people would find out. It's just a really cool thing to be able to do that. The problem is the time it takes to do all of that research for 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people is outrageous. You just don't have that kind of time to personalize every single message for every single person when you're sending out, you're blasting out your email campaigns, let alone the fact that it just takes a long time to set up email campaigns. Well, you've already seen, if you haven't already seen, there's another demo that talks about how easy it is to set up an email campaign. We're not going to go over that right now with Smithers, but what I do want to show you is how easy it is to personalize all of your information. Even if you've already at one point uploaded your list of people, you can upload them again into Smithers, and it's going to take out only the pieces that are different. So let me show you how this works. So when you go to add a contact or add contacts, one of the options that you have is to download our sample. Okay, so this is where you'll get a CSV file that looks something like this. Now, it's just a CSV file. There's nothing fancy here at all. These are the fields that we absolutely require, and this is the order that we require those fields to be in. So we require them to be named exactly the way that they are, and that's full name, phone, email, time zone, if you know it. You don't have to have that particular field, and most of the time it's unimportant unless you're doing a phone campaign, which we help you do that anyway. And then notes. Notes is the part of the personalization. That's the part that we're going to talk about, and that's what we're going to concentrate on. So I've taken that list and I've downloaded it into my own CSV file over here. So this is in my own Excel file, if you will. I can blow this up a little bit more so that you can see it a little bit better here. Okay, so now inside of my own Excel, I've got, my own list of data that I'm importing into here. Okay. And you can see here that I've got a field that I've already kind of done already. And it basically says for me specifically that I'm the founder of Answer Sales Calls. And this is what we do. It's an automation company in Wilmington, Delaware, right? And then we've got some more things that I have in here as far as the information. This is the secret sauce part that I want to tell you about on how to do. Let me show you the end result first, right? So let's take a look at what an actual email will look like when it goes out. So you already know that Smithers designs for you automatically some really cool and engaging email templates automatically when it goes out the door, right? So it's got a great little title and a headline, a nice picture up at the top. And on top of that, it's got this whole very top section is personalized. It knows me, and it's got some things that it's picked out about me that it might be interesting or applicable to what this entire campaign is all talking about. In this particular campaign, we're talking about just the ability for you to do an appointment setter. Okay. And so, because our AI allows for you to do appointment setting, and it's a pretty good thing. I had an article that was out that I talked about on my social media that talked about customer service experiences. And this thing just literally Smithers figured out that I was talking about customer service, and it's basically changing the conversation to say that, hey, on just very much like how you want to get people to understand who you are and improving your customer satisfaction, it's all about putting that personal touch onto it. And then this can help elevate your conversation so that you can get the meeting, get the appointment set inside of your calendar. It's a really cool spin on the way that it's taking an article that it recently saw that I posted and kind of flipping the script around a little bit. First of all, to say that, hey, I looked at your information. I thought that it was pretty cool. I saw what you posted and I saw that you've got some really cool information that's going out. And then on top of that, let me tell you about how we're talking about things. And I'm excited to reconnect with you from the last time that we talked, or whatever the case may be on that. It takes all those pieces of information. And if they're in your CRM already, then it lifts out the important pieces of what your last conversation was about that person and it pulls that into the conversation instead. So it's pretty nifty how all of that happens. Let me show you some tips and tricks on how to get it to do exactly that. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create the actual campaigns. So, or the setup of how we want for Smithers to understand what we want for them to do. So the important key piece is this part right here. I'm saying that I want you to go out and I want you to look at their most recent either Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. And then I want you to write me an introduction that would make this person want to learn more about my specific business, my URL. If there's a specific URL that you want to actually talk specifically about, like, the way that you do plumbing in your neighborhood, or, that's like a PR article that went out and talked about you or whatever, and it has something very specific that you want to like narrow things down to make them interested in that, put that link there. Doesn't really matter, right? And talk about how it could benefit their business goals and needed outcomes. Find something personal about their previous work, and then give me a question that lets them know that I'm familiar with what they're doing and how they're doing it, and that makes them think about what I'm doing and how it could be applied. Do it in two witty, simple, and easy to digest sentences. So, this is the secret sauce. You don't have to use that particular prompt. You can use whatever prompt that you feel is necessary for your specific line of business and for the needs of what you want the customer to actually take away from the end result. And then the last piece of it is to just give it some information, because this is generalized information. Now you got to give it some specific information on how to find the person that you're talking about. So obviously you want to put their name, and you want to put a little bit about their title, and you can put this extra little stuff if you want to, but the company that they work for is important, right? The founder of this particular company and in this particular city and state. Now that narrows it down because there might be a bunch of Mark Johnsons in the world, but this one Mark Johnson works at this particular company in this particular state. There might be two, but it's highly likely that it's going to find the one. So it's kind of like you're narrowing down how big of a scope that the AI has to go out and do its generalized searches. Now, see, when you come over here, how do you do that, right? So you might have in your CRM or in your list somewhere, you might have these pieces of information. Okay, so in the city of, and I forgot to put a space here, at that particular company in the city of, and then put a space there. And I want to say this city, uh, comma, space, um, this state, comma, dot. So that's the period of it. And that should be good. So now what I have here, if you look here, it is say Jim works at some company in the city of Philadelphia, PA. That's pretty good, right? That's very similar to what I have over here. This person, and then there's a title, right? I forgot to say the title in this particular list, but you get the point, right? This person is the, or works as a, this type of a title at the company of this particular company and the city of this particular city and state, right? And then the rest of it, you're going to then fill in this particular piece of it here as well too. Now you have to be careful because the field space, the field sizes can only be but so long. So you kind of have to break this up into like chunks of smaller chunks, okay? So you'll break this up into smaller chunks inside of that list in something like this. So you'll say, just to keep it simple for myself, we'll do this. And I'll put a space in here. So there's a space there. And I'll put the rest of that there based on there. So I've got that particular piece of it. And I'll put another space. And then I'll do another chunk of it because it can only be but so long, right? So I'll put in the next little piece of this. I'll go to here, for example. Okay, and there's a space there that tells me where I ended that, and then I can add the last little piece of this usually has to be broken into like smaller pieces. I think it's 255 spaces that it can have. See, I've got it too long on one of them. One of them is too long. It's probably this last one, if I remember correctly. So let's just see if this last one is too long. Yeah, that was the last one. That was just a bit too long. So now I've got that whole entire thing there. Now, the thing about um, Excel files or CSV files is that you can't import a um, formula. Okay, so right now I have this formula, and let's hypothetically say that I have a bunch of people in here. You're going to now copy this formula all the way down. Okay, so you're going to either do this and you can drag that formula all the way down like so, and it does that and drags it all the way down. Or the best way that I like to do it is I like to highlight the entire row of all the different people and hit Command or Control D, and it does the same thing. Okay, so nice little tip for you on how to do that. Pro tip. Now you've got this entire formula selected downwards like that, but you cannot, as I just mentioned, you cannot actually have it be a formula. You see, this is what it's actually saying here, and that's not going to work. You can't import a formula like that. So now you need to actually copy this out. Let me show you how to get this to say exactly what you need for it to say. You're going to select all the rows that say something, and you're going to say copy. And then you're going to then paste special the values only. Now that you've pasted the values of this, it says the same thing, but if you look at the actual thing up here, there is no formulas up here any longer. And now you can actually see that Jim Brown works at this particular company, blah, blah, blah. There's no formula. It pasted the entire value into that space. Now you're good. So your whole entire formula set for every single one of those people now to say, Bobby Smith. Bobby Smith works at this particular company, new different company than this guy. And then based on the rest of it's all the cookie cutter statement of what you always want for everything to say. The rest of it's the cookie cutter part. The part that's personalized to this specific person is this part where it's talking about this particular person works here in this particular city and state, just so you can identify that person. Now the AI knows to do the same type of functionality for every person, but it now knows which individual person to do. So that every time when you import your list into Smithers, now all of those notes go along for the ride, which is awesome. And then from there, what you end up getting back out from Smithers is literally a very extremely well formatted email for each individual person, specifically formatting the personalized section just for what they've done, what they've accomplished. I've seen this thing talk about an award that a person won that I didn't even know that they had won before. And I thought that was the coolest thing that it did. So that's just a nice little tip on how to personalize your emails specifically using the Smithers AI system.